And welcome back, everyone, to the NALCS third place finals match. We're 1-1 now as CLG are tied with Immortals in this series, and the game felt like it was developing into Stixxay versus Huni, and then it was just a battle of AD carries. Total and Stixxay traded so much there.
Yeah, absolutely. Both these AD carries showed up a lot on their shoulders, though, and at the end of the day, it was Wild Turtle, who had a little bit more behind him in the team, but man, did Stixxay play his heart out in that game. Afro move, of course, you saw it during the break, kind of bolstering his spirits in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the stats here, literally 1 damage per minute separated those two. I really have to say, though, having, taking Kalista in the current meta is so rare, and being able to perform with it like that, CLG actually playing around it, was very surprising, and looked like it was going to work, if not for Huni.
Yeah, and Huni in the top lane, getting that solo kill, being able to snowball, had even more gold in his pocket, and he was showing up to these fights. He was getting those kills, and he was honestly the highest kill participation on the Immortal squad, which is very impressive, because normally he's that guy who's just split pushing. He even got a Titanic Hydra to help himself split push in that game.
And I think as well, the idea that adaptation is very key for these teams moving through the best of 5. Immortals did show us that they can adapt in draft, can adapt in play, and it showed so much there. That Vladimir pick, it's really obvious, but after the turn from Karma, it almost looked like a stroke of genius.
Exactly, and also it showed that Immortals also can recover from a loss and bounce right back and actually give another punch to CLG, because that was a loss that you are behind almost the entire game, and you have to be able to stick it out, get through it, and then bring it in the next game.
As we said, best of 5, and we are looking like we can go to the distance here. Currently 1-1, all tied up as we head right back into the ban phase here. A lot of similar faces finding themselves. Sivir not going to be in this game, though.
Yeah. CLG tried it, they're like, we'll see what happens. Like, didn't really like that. Immortals did take red side this game, and we're done with the bans here. Rek'Sai first pick for CLG once again.
Yeah, only change in the bans was that the Karma was dropped for the Sivir here to take it away from Immortals. And the first pick Rek'Sai,
wow.
Pretty standard, but oh my god.
And right away, Immortals show that the reason they pick Rek'Sai is to get 2 priority picks. It's not to get a counter pick on a solo lane. Both solo lanes shown very clearly here. Go ahead and counter pick the Vlad if you want. And same thing for Echo here, not really anything they're scared of from Darshan.
Certainly saw maybe some of the shortcomings with Malzahar after a lot of the changes. Still a good champion, but struggles to compete maybe as the game moves on. We'll see what Kuhi has in store for the counter pick.
I really would like to see him, go for that Cassiopeia, go for the super high late game damage from the back line, possible kill threat as well in that lane. They do have the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and with the Sivir off the table as well, you don't have as many tools available to the other team to run her down and get to her, because she's mostly going to kite back.
Plus, she's a pretty good versus the Vladimir and Echo, both of them forward-facing as they try and get into that medium range to the back line.
Back to the Jhin, though, perhaps for CLG, as Darshan going to keep it consistent. 3 Shen games in a row now, but Stixxay went off in game 1 on Jhin. He's going to take it for another spin here in game 3.
Yeah, looks like that same strategy here for CLG. Play away from Huni and see if they can make stuff happen on the other side of the map. Jhin is going to spike pretty early there with the flat armor trade and penetration builds. See if they can get those early kills rolling like they did in game number 1.
And right now, the Gragas was probably going to go through. Yes, it does for Rain over here, because it's just the better of the two between him and Elise left to actually go and defend Vladimir. But that's interesting. The Ezreal for Wild Turtle, kind of an old one for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the Gragas that you touch on, I also specifically like it against the Jhin. Very good at punishing the low mobility AD carries. Plus, once the ultimate is popped, he's very easy to stop that as well. And as you say, Turtle with the Ezreal, little bit lower priority here, but very mobile, can take care of himself.
And we saw Turtle do a lot of work here. We'll see what happens with the rest of IMT's draft in just a second, as it looks like Adrian's Champion's just going to complete that side. CLG, though, need to finish the rest of their draft, and we'll see what Kuhi in particular has in store for the mid lane.
Yeah, and one of the things that Immortals didn't want to actually pick Ashe for is because you haven't seen the support yet, and there's already a lot of things that would get on a low mobility AD carry, and so, they could have picked an Alistar. Ooh. They could have actually had something that dives on you, and speaking of dive, the Cassidus comes through. We've seen it before as well into the Vladimir as a supposed counter pick here. I believe it was from Huhi himself, and it didn't work out exactly the way he wanted it to, and it's quite surprising he doesn't go for the Cassiopeia, but he thinks this one fits the comp a little bit better. Yeah,
Huhi has dabbled in the Kassadin, definitely more rare in North America than it is in Europe, where a lot of the mid laners really liking the current state of the champion. We'll see if he can get control of that mid lane, because the main weakness everyone always points out for Kassadin is definitely going to be that wave clear. CLG do not want to fall behind early. They're going to have to make sure that Reignover doesn't snowball.
And a pretty spectacular last pick here potentially for Immortals. We saw Karma bans in the first few games. We'll see if Adrian wants to lock it in. He's very proficient on his range supports, of course.
I still think you go for a Trundle here because it can knock the Jhin out of his ultimate and you have some peel there, but it is going to be the Karma here. It's just such a high priority for these two supports, but it seems like Aphromu's kind of moved away from that.
At least in this particular draft, is players going to swap their champions around. Very curious moving into game 2. I think Immortals changed very little because they're like, yeah, we like the comp we played, you gave it to us again.
Yeah, I think the Karma pick for Immortals is important to add extra mobility to the rest of the team. That's a stat that's very important to Immortals is move speed, trying to get it from somewhere. Now that Turtle has more safety himself with the Ezreal, they can also have speed ups for everyone else.
Yeah, the Sivir being banned out makes the Karma go up a little bit in priority there.
Well, we'll see what CLG can do with this comp, because Hui again has been kind of changing around his mid laners. Still surprised to not see the Cassiopeia, but it can be dangerous because Immortals' aggression, very easy to pick up that sort of champion despite how much work you can do. We'll go for Kassadin instead. Pobelter at some point we'll need to see an answer for this Vladimir. Maybe it's his pick here for CLG, but if Pobelter has another big game, it's I think banner or bust at that point. You have to start adapting as the series goes on, and that's been a big thing. We're now in game 3, teams are tied 1-1. It's been the adaptation that we've seen really progress the series forward.
Yeah, and Immortals selecting the red side, thinking they'd get something like this. It's the first time that we've seen somebody deviate in this match from actually picking blue side, and it might work out for them because they have a pretty much the same win condition type composition as before.
Definitely true. Very similar composition lining up here with a couple of tweaks to the bottom lane. So we'll see if Immortals' bottom lane can show the reason that they decided to go with those tweaks and avoid death.
Got to avoid a lot of it though, because we saw how devastating the Jhin Braum can be in game 1. We're under the rift one more time for game number 3. We're all tied up, so momentum going to be real important here as we look to see who wins at game number 3.
And we're talking about how this bottom lane, it's a bully lane here from Immortals. The Ezreal with the poke, and same with the Karma being able to actually poke out a low mobility Jhin. See if they can actually poke Aphromu out of the lane as well.
It's also very difficult to gank early on. Normal ganks are going to be really hard to pull off. I mean, you do have Braum and Jhin, which is really good at setting up in lane and capitalizing on ganks, but Ezreal, with the addition of the Karma speed, very slippery.
Well, I like this from CLG, actually changing things up and invading early level 1, trying to get some deep vision down. Should be traded here, although Hootie has not put his trinket ward down despite being on that side of the map yet.
And you talked about it in game 1, Kobe, that having a Braum sometimes invading is the best thing to do because you might catch somebody out, an incredibly powerful level 1 champion. And so they just force their way in there to get a little bit more vision. We'll see what they end up doing with it. If it's a cheeky start from CLG, because they have had some of those augmented level 1s back in lane swap days, even in standard lanes, they could do some really strange things that would throw off the enemies.
Definitely admire CLG's creativity as Huni and Reignover going to be moving to this top side of the jungle. CLG should get that info because they did ward the blue side of the jungle, and looks like Xmithie also going to start on that same side. So Seal Darshan does again into this matchup. He played it in game number 2, and as always, look for that bottom lane pressure. Things could get very messy.
Yeah, I mean, the margins of victory for Huni in the early trades, in early laning with Darshan, were very small, and Darshan was actually, giving just as good as he got early on in the game before Huni started to whittle away at his turret and open up for that dive. We'll see if it goes differently this time around. I believe 6A got all those melees, plus the added bounce onto Turtle, so a huge trade right there.
Good bit of damage as Afro looking to get aggressive. He's getting kited out as Turtle and Adrian with some great poke out onto the Braum, but Stixay has the crit shot, just shoots Wild Turtle in the face with it.
Gonna get root too.
And there again, he's to go all in. Does not. CLG keeping a little calmer now in the bottom lane, but Wild Turtle taking a lot of beating already. Gonna have to heal up with that potion.
And this is a lane that's supposed to be a little bit of a bully here, and it's honestly Stixay kind of 1v2ing at the start there, just getting all of the HP out of Wild Turtle. And now they're calling Xmithie down. They don't have a ward for this just yet. he goes.
He's going. Tunnels in there. Smithy wants it. He gets the knock-up turtle. Manages to flash himself out of the way with the
Oh, he
but Adrian
tagged him.
got tagged. That's not good news. Adrian, can he run
Here
away?
comes Rainover.
Help's coming. Rainover, double belly bop there. Maybe going to turn things around, but CLG are standing firm again. They'll fight Rainover here. Does he get stunned up? Stixay needs it again, and that's first blood at Smithy.
And Wild Turtle, he was pushed off. He wanted to get there first, but Stixay cut him off.
Because Stixay continually chunking out Turtle here, can't join the party, and CLG do end up capitalizing on that gank. They force it again. First blood, this time over to Smithy. Smithy usually will turn first blood money into an early Sightstone and translate that into vision for the team, though.
But last time he played Rek'Sai, it was interesting because he went for the Titanic Hydra build and didn't build the Sightstone, which was a little bit uncharacteristic of him.
All right, let's take a look here. Comes in for the classic over the tri-bush and goes for the flash. Even though this W misses, Adrian's forced off to the other side and flashes in a line with the skill shot from Aframu. So because you get tagged and the slow does land, means that they're going to keep up the chase here. And even with Rainover coming, extra heal here from Stixay to make sure they can catch the rest of the kill.
And that was beautiful from Stixay as well. He's throwing out the shots, tempting Wild Turtle to come over, and he has the crit shot available, so he sits on that one to zone Wild Turtle off, but also means that when he shows up to the fight, he gets that big burst of damage and the Deathfire touch.
You did see in game 2 that, oh, never mind, Darshan back in onto Huni. Does cancel the recall trading again nicely. Huni going to pop the passive and should return relatively quickly to the top side, but Darshan getting a bit more of a foothold in this lane this time around. No early TP burnt just yet for the Shen. In fact, it may be Huni that's forced that a little earlier, but that bottom lane action we were expecting does bear fruit there for CLG.
Yeah, bottom lane has been the focus of this series, and this time around, huge victory for Counterlogic Gaming. Not only did they get that kill, but it translated into a CS lead for Stixay as well. And that is very good things when you are on Jhin trying to get your flat armor penetration as quickly as possible.
There is a bit of an advantage here, though, in terms of pressure. In favor of Immortals in the bottom side, they have all these caster minions, but they're probably just going to use it for a good back. And Adrian will try to keep Stixay from backing so that Wild Turtle is able to actually pick up possibly a tier.
Yep.
Want that early tier on Ezreal. You want that back.
Great little block there from Afro. It's a little low, so I think that's part of why CLG are playing back here. Stixay happily farming away, got about 10 CS ahead, and we'll actually look for recalls here.
Yeah, see what they do with that gold. Adrian try to interrupt it, but Afro is very keen to what he's trying to do.
Good defense there from Afro. Is checking with the mid lane for the first time, actually. Just even on CS, who he did go back a little early and burn the TP. He's got a quick blasting one, which is quite aggressive for this matchup. Belter though should be fine. Got a Kindle Gem looking for that early Spirit Visage. And again, mid laners kind of want to farm up here.
Yeah, Hui actually feeling really good now, just getting to that level 6.4 Kassadin. Getting wave control as well with the blasting wand, taking it down early is really big to try and open up opportunities for him. He did just use the teleport to get back to lane though, so there won't be any of those early on Kassadin teleporting down to bottom lane and picking up those snowball kills off bottom lane. But definitely later on in the game, we'll look at the side lanes for him to affect, because Shen also approaching that level 6 point where they get to create action.
Yeah, and he can actually deliver Shen pretty deep into the fights too with that Rift Walk. But he also, because he got that Void Staff, the Blasting Wand, it's going to go into a Rod of Ages, and he didn't go for the Catalyst, so he wanted to have that early wave through like you were talking about, Kobe, so he has that break point. And just speaking of items all around, it's the Tiamat again for Smithy. He was always that Sightstone guy. He's always the one who was about that vision, but against Immortals, he wants to be able to play on their level and have the damage when these skirmishes break out.
It makes it a lot easier to be in the right place if you can clear the camps that much quicker with the Tiamat. You can burn through those things and then get in place for counter ganks, try and get over to the ward battle game. Doesn't actually go into the rush, so Immortals pink ward does stand, and that's pretty big for them in the mid lane. Never mind, Hui walks in, and he will find it.
Takes it away. Huni taking damage again from Darshan. There's a nice taunt's going to come out. Spirit's Refuge will keep him safe. Huni, though, just navigating his trades pretty nicely. Zig Smith is looking for something here.
Really enjoying that top lane battle because they are constantly trading up there. Meanwhile, though, we have a little bit of a jungle invade, as you say, and the Wolf Spirit does see Smithy.
Yeah, that top lane battle is actually, like, don't try this in solo queue, kid, because it's very risky. You see how often they are trading, and Huni is actually losing most of these trades right now, but he's getting a small CS advantage every time he does it. Maybe Darshan misses one or two, and now we're seeing it be almost double digit now in terms of how far ahead Huni is.
See pressure Definitely still building up for the top lane, but Darshan does have his ultimate, so can make his way bottom. Goes in again here as these trades just do not stop.
Yeah, like Shen just comes out on top of these trades for a good period in the game, and since he's a monolith-based champion, Huni, when he keeps trading like that, he'll eventually run out of mana, and we've seen it a few times. It looks scary for Huni, but if he plays it right, he eventually gets this large CS advantage.
And then just all back to lane for pressure. Now he's got tempo up on the top side as well. Teleports are synced up as well for both top laners. The only problem is, of course, that staying united. Bottom lane does have to be a bit cautious. Not really a problem, though, as they're getting pushed under turret by CLG.
This might even be a dive brewing here for CLG. Smithy going to look for that first tunnel.
He is also roaming through the jungle right now so that they don't have any early alert system.
Here we go. Adrian going to get hit up by the first few bolts. Turtle does get tagged by the Kingosi boys, but Darshan's in as well. Dajinat's going to move in and Stixay with another crit, as now Turtle's going to get chased down. Massive snare on the other end, and Hui gets the second.
I found that classic trap. Oh, bottom lane, yeah, just farm under turret. Play safe, right? We can't play safe. They're 5-man diving us.
Yep. Everybody comes down to the bottom side. In Hui looked like he was trying to roam as well, maybe get a piece of it if he had gotten away. But this turret is going to go down first. You see the top side, maybe a little bit.
The race is on. Who's going to get that first turret money?
First turret gold is very important as well because they gave up a decent amount of pressure. Hui getting right back to that mid lane, though, so they don't give up any more mid.
But this is the big thing is when we talk to some teams, they talk about first turret gold. It's really meaningful when it's on a single person. It's that 650 chunk. 2 people get it, it's 388. And when you spread it over 4 people, it's just honestly not that recognizable of a lead. At that point, it's kind of small.
I don't know. I'm an old school.
You're
Gold
old
is
school.
gold. Give it to my team. I'm happy. All right, here we go. This is how they started out, though. Lands the first 2 shots to get the slow, and they do, Adrian, there's no chance for him there. He actually did burn the flash earlier, too, so that will be one summoner that they have to keep track of, and maybe Adrian will be another return to target, which is actually scary for Immortals, because Turtle already is going to be, pretty safe on the Ezreal. They're actually leaving him by himself now to clean out the bottom lane.
Seems like they trust him to collect that farm as CLG continuing to navigate nicely here. Actually up almost 2,000 gold, so that turret and the 3 quick kills they've gone, it seems that they've found their aggression from the opening in the series. They're actually going to swap Stixay and Afro to this mid lane as well and try and apply some pressure. Huni, I think, currently visiting. He's going to hang out and clear what he can. But Immortals may have to move there as well. You said about Total. He's left alone. That could be a bit dangerous in the long lane.
He does have double summoners to blow if he does get caught out. So they're kind of taking this into account when they make this risk. They're like, okay, Turtle, you're going to be by yourself in bottom lane. We're going to send Adrian to try and help out with the war fight.
I think? No, not
No,
quite.
that's a blue scuttle.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Good try, though. Good attempt there.
It looked like the Karma Cube.
Definitely. I'm having fun in this bizarro world where CLG are constantly pressuring the portals early on, right?
It's really unusual because CLG was always the team that had to wait for that mid game. You think about MSI as well. Like their early game was not strong for most of this split, whereas Immortals had one of the strongest early games in the entire league.
Well, I love
Top
this
2.
I love this here from CLG. They're going to take this Infernal. We've seen very late Drake takes, and maybe it's because the first one's a Cloud Drake is why, but Infernal, a good priority dragon to get. They will pick it up here, and nice and at a good pace as well there in 11 minutes in. Stixay is farming out what he can, looking for that Ghostblade relatively soon. Huni back to his old tricks with the Sheen. I imagine we'll see a similar Trinity Force start, and he did bully Darshan nicely with a 20 CS lead so far. Huni is set up to do work once again.
This looks like it might be a stun here. Oh,
It's just a bait. Smithy's like, hello. Just gonna chase him out of the way. Huni's pulling pressure. We'll see what Immortals can maybe get done on the other side.
doesn't have smite quite up just yet.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between
here comes
pressure and Smithy just farming his Gromp.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, it looks like it's just grabbing that code. Because honestly, whoa, actually interesting switch here with the Jhin over to mid lane. The AD carries have talked about it a lot. Switching Jhin to mid lane just feels so good because there's so much kill pressure here early on in the game. It's one of those early spiking ADs. We keep talking about the flat armor penetration, but opening up the ultimate around mid lane is so much pick potential. And then he just slip casted in right into a side lane. He wants to be split pushing. His teleport is available. CLG, into their old school strategy of 1-3-1. And meanwhile, the first one of the 1-3-1 is starting to gain some momentum here against Huni.
Yep. Honestly, still wins it right now, but look at this, a fight on the side, and this might be the open up you're talking about.
Mid lane Jin, he opens up.
He's looking for it there. Smithy low gets also back by Rainover. Not quite dead yet, but Rainover will collect the kill. Stixxay fires into the wind.
Mid lane Jin opening up against full health target. Ah, shucks.
Yeah, they were invading, and they only brought 2 members, and then, well, you got to leave one of them behind. So it was Smithy there, got picked up, and so that actually takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails there.
Yeah, so
CLG.
The other thing that a lot of the pro players have been talking about recently too, and Crumbs was actually talking about this, is the evolution of your warding buddy system, and fighting over vision has gone from just the support to the support plus the jungle to the support plus the jungle plus the mid laner all having to go at the same time. Because when you do get skirmishes like that, you need to have everybody really close, because only a couple of seconds of damage mean the difference between you winning and getting killed like that. Stixxay, yes, he is on Jin, can open up from far away, but it was too late as Smithy and co were too low on health already to get finished off, and Immortals get that kill back for themselves.
Feels like Immortals kind of playing the game they want to here. CLG are still up, but they're slowing it down once again. We saw this in game 2. Things definitely were a little quieter moving towards that mid game. But Immortals, they're getting farm on all 3 lanes here. I mean, so is CLG, I guess, so they're happy to trade. But we are approaching, again, another very explosive-looking mid game where one team fight could blow the game open again.
And especially with something like a Kassadin that has backline access, him getting onto Wild Turtle, we are going to have some explosive fights where you kind of trade frontliners, where you're probably going to send the Kassadin towards the Ezreal, and you're probably going to send Huni straight at the enemy AD carry.
Red Rover, send Vladimir over.
You don't even have to ask to send Huni over. He's already there most of the time.
Battle of the Titans continues. Darshan again winning a lot of these early trades, but Huni is waiting for that first item, so I can certainly understand why. In general, teams are looking good. Iceborne Gauntlet done early for Turtle Rod Evaders, and Ghostblade there for Huki and Stixxay respectively. And CLG, they're still trying something here with the 3-lane pressure. They really want mid.
Yeah, and you can see the vision battles do continue. Stixxay's moving up the minion wave. Afromoose supporting Smithy in that effort to kill the pink ward.
I'm always nervous, because last time this happened, I thought no one was going to die, and then Darshan always killed Huni.
Yeah, this matchup kind of sucks if you are faint of heart. If you try to cower,
Yeah.
if you're a coward, you try to get out of there, then you definitely lose the trade. So you have to be a man, but you have to know when to back off a little bit.
Certainly very delicate. CLG again, making sure Stixxay's hanging out, pivoting around him here in the mid lane, but Turtle's actually come over as well. It's like, you know what, I like this mid lane free farm thing. I'll give it a go. As soon as he does teleport himself back to lane with the ultimate.
Yeah, doesn't want to miss any CS here and keep that small advantage that he has now.
Trinity force up as well, so Huni ready to brawl.
Oh, that is a pretty big break point. I don't know if I would want to set up a push gank against the just completed Trinity Force, but Darshan does.
Yeah, he's going to go try for it, but here's Rainover ruining his day. Darshan, he does have everything available. Can he get out?
Afro is also heading up there. Meanwhile, mid lane.
Oh my god, they're just going in for it. Who will he dive? He actually does get damage down, but not quite enough. Looks like Darshan also escaped with his splash, so everything's just fine.
So CLG move all of their resources up to collapse on top, and they make a move mid lane. That means that bottom lane, the split there from Pobelter, Vladimir, went all the way to the turret, and that is going to be some extra minions that do go down. He does not cut off Puhi on his way down to clean them up, so I think there will be inaction here as everybody just tries to stabilize and grab the minions.
Yeah, and that's what everybody's just trying to do right now. TP actually going to be used by Darshan to get back to the top side, just to keep this pressure up. That's why we keep seeing the TP from Shen back to the lane, so he can stand united elsewhere, doesn't need that teleport, and then Huni constantly uses his ultimate to get back, because if you let up any pressure, you give a free lane to the other person.
Ah, pressure everywhere! We need some heart rate monitors on the top laners, because they are just, constantly fighting, waiting for the teleport opportunities. One of the most strenuous things that you have to use in a game is coordinating with the rest of your team. When do I use my teleport? Staying united, does it come in? Because it's such a valuable cooldown, and it can mean a very big swing in the game if you use it incorrectly.
Here comes Huni.
$5 uses it. There he goes. Again, every single time he loses it that way.
Well, it looks like Drake could be the next thing. 10 seconds now till Ocean Drake will spawn. Crab this time goes over to Immortals, managed to secure some vision around it. You have to think they are going to move in for this objective, maybe fancy mid a bit more, so we'll see where the priority lies, but teams are positioned for a brawl here. Again, much like Game 2, we're kind of building up to this fight. CLG have a slim lead, but that's just what it is, it's slim.
Yep, because both teams really matching each other here, switching AD carry support over to the mid lane, try and clear out the waves. Vladimir answering the casted and split push, because bottom lane, very easy to get over to that Drake fight with Ghost. Don't need the teleport on Vladimir. And Pobelter looking to make another one of those big plays at the next Drake fight, it will be Ocean, so I don't know how hard they will commit to it. Remember, the fight is going to be more important than the Drake. Because if you win that big team fight in a big way, you can take all these standing turrets that are out there, get a lot more gold. Whereas a mid-game Ocean Drake at 18 minutes, not a huge swing. So be very cognizant of your positioning according to the fight that will come out, rather than trying to smite steal or sacrifice your life to do something like that.
Thanks, Professor. I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, I definitely think the Ocean Drake, not always worth fighting over. It's more the fight itself that people are trying to get. It's that kind of that point that everybody wants to be at.
Well, Vlad versus 2 should be okay for Pobelta. Maybe not actually. Huhi going in for it. Does get some good poke damage down. Pobelta not going to quite get that Crimson Russian powered Q, but should heal up pretty quickly.
Yeah, just to assert dominance over the blue buff area for the Dragon for CLG. So just trying to push him out, get those pink wards gone.
Pressure again, just starting to pile up everywhere. Huhi's still going back in with the Pobelta, and he wants it a little more. He might be going to get forced out. Huhi looking nice. But we have a fight in our hands. Huhi going to TP in. Huhi now going to get Stand United on Darshan. Going to try and cover it as Xmithie and Stix's ulti are cutting him off. Huhi will have caught out position in the front line, but he's relatively tanky. Xmithie flashed himself over to the wall, I think, or maybe tunneled his way out. But Darshan a little too low. Huhi finally claims a victim, ults himself out to safety, and Immortal going to surge forward. They take out Huhi, rain over, makes the blade a flank too, and Pobelta straight forward. Immortals get a clean house here.
I tell you, the E not breaking on Sanguine Pool for Vladimir was one of the best things to ever happen to him. Huge follow-up there from Pobelter. Does burn both summoners, and Immortals get the better of CLG in the Drake fight.
And it looks like a big part of that was, hold on.
Going in again. Xmithie trying to defend the red buff, maybe ill-advised.
Yeah, he does have smite as well.
Rooney wants it.
Oh, and opponent gets what he wants!
Unfortunate there for Xmithie. As like you said, Immortals did ignore the Drake. They just wanted the team fight and they won it handily.
Keep your eyes on the kills. I mean, this all started out, remember, Huhi was constantly on Pobelter, just poking the bear here. Keeps on aggressing into the jungle really deep. And they do have all the means to collapse. Jhin is going to pop the ultimate. They're a little bit spread out. And this is actually fortunate for CLG that they get that disengage. Huhi flashes right before Gragas ultimate. So that's kind of a dream disengage. But then they go right back in. And it's a 4-on-5 because Stix's walking over and ult is timed out. Exactly. There's the tunnel there from Xmithie, and they do collapse on Darshan.
And that looked like a little bit of a split mindset there, because it looked like Huhi and Darshan wanted to turn it back around, and Stixay was using a disengage type ultimate there. Because at that point, you'd really love it when these guys are pretty low and that you'd be able to get that execute damage off.
Keep seeing it from CLG. They've looked very clean in these fights as the models do get their cake and eat it too. And Dragon going to go over to them as they pick up the Ocean. The models just really step things up after that game 1 loss. Looking very together here. Pobelta on the Vlad has looked wonderful. It's 2-0-3 right now. And CLG, they're still doing their thing. The Immortals is doing it a little bit better. Although the gold is dead even as I say that, so this game has still got a long way to go.
And to be honest, this is a very impressive showing from Counterlogic Gaming, because everybody was expecting Immortals. They took Cloud9 to 5 games. They were very powerful coming in, and CLG got swept by Team Solo Mid. Well, this game, neck and neck game 3, already took a game off of them. It's actually kind of uncharacteristic of CLG, and they might be up on an upswing here.
Yeah, I mean, CLG are the underdogs. They're used to being the underdogs, though, very often in their history, and still fighting here. Very close series, 1-1. Immortals definitely looking like they want this game, but look at that gold. Very even as far as they go. 1 Drake apiece. The thing is, kind of worried here about the end game. We'll see, though. A lot of vision wars going on right now. Okay, no. Every time they collapse here inside the jungle,
yeah,
I know, it's like, myself for the action because they're fighting over the blue buff.
Well, blue buff this time going to go over to Rainova.
Pobelter grabs it there with the tides.
Gives him a little bit extra, more AP.
He'll take it. Not too bad there. As Darshan and Huni still here. Cue the music at this point because they're running circles around each other. Darshan still getting ahead in a lot of these trades, but Huni, I think, has to spend some gold as well. So there's definitely a push and pull here. CLG going to keep fighting here. And
push and pull and punch and kick and bite. These guys have been just all over it.
It's like Parappa the Rapper, man. You rub it back. Oh, man. Anyway, Dreamcast was great.
Getting stronger. And I think these turrets have been the big sore point. Immortals, this would be a very good break to get if they can knock down the mid turret. The map is still very closed, and CLG dig their heels in and defend. But Afromu going to get himself poked out. Immortals, do they go for it?
Yeah, I mean, CLG are going back to the 1st round without the teleport available for Kassadin, so that's why Immortals pushing in on this turret. They have the pressure advantage. Now Huhi, though, after shoving the bottom lane, is heading up to mid.
They need to do something here. Immortals might have been looked to just dive and break it wide open.
And meanwhile, Huni's actually doing the blue buff right now, so they're at least getting something out of this for Immortals. And they just pushed Huhi outside.
Bit of a brute force there, but the 6A ultimate's going to try and clear the wave out, I think. Huni very threatening in the tower. He's going to fall. He just goes for it. Huni phase dives onto it. Smithy is right over. Just a little short, gets the ulti down, but he won't quite connect for the rest of it. CLG can maybe turn it around. Right over. Big mistake. Gets himself stunned under the turret.
Huhi didn't go deep to the back line, though, because they're worried about the damage that Immortals could still put out. They do play it a bit safe there. They catch the 1 kill, they snared Rain over, and so they take that guaranteed small advantage, and it looks like they're trying to move it up towards the top side, but I think it might end at just that 1 kill. A little bit of an overstep from Rainover. He gets punished for missing that flash.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to actually back up Huni. Huni dove in, then Rainover's like, all right, to actually tag teamed him out while Turtle was trying to back. At the same time, he was right off of screen. He is sitting on like 2,000 gold.
It's one of those things, whenever you see Immortals play, I always think of this story, because if you play with them in the ranked games, how their communication is almost all Rainover talking to Huni and like, slow down, take it slowly here, move it slowly, back away. And like the whole team is trying to catch up to Huni's, pace.
Well, it's pretty breakneck, as Immortals do claim the very key structure in the center of the map, and despite the gold still sitting effectively even here, almost 25 minutes into this game, Immortals have key territory that they've now taken and will once again gear up for the next fight around the Mountain Drake, where Immortals may look to win yet another spectacular team fight. But this is easily the closest of the 3 games we've seen so far. Everyone's just getting stronger. Stixay with 2 items, looking good. CLG feels like they haven't found as much pressure, but again, the teams are just learning each other as they play the series.
And then they can still find time to dance in mid lane. This game's got it all. All right, here we go, fighting over the tunnels, though. I mean, taking down the tunnel network is not really ever highlighted, but every little bit does count. You definitely want to at least clean up the ones that are, around river and stuff. Uh-oh, here we go, though. More action.
Pobelter actually now 1v2. Can he get out of this one? Hui going to dive himself forward. Big heal there from the ultimate, but Hui wants it! Chases him, but Pobelter just has too much healing.
Whoa, he flashed for that, too.
Yeah.
Pobelter is going to walk away from it and try and heal back up off the minions.
And Smithy sticking around and trying to force him off that turret, and that goes to save Pobelter so many times on this Vladimir. And he just got pressure alleviated.
Yeah.
Walk back up.
Look at this. They're roaming Adrian. He's in the river threatening to roam up to the top side, so CLG know they can't make this dive.
It's a long
and,
lane.
They fight him off of the turret, so good job there by Immortals. They burned the Kassadin Flash, which is very big. One of those tools you talked about earlier, Pastry, getting the Shen even deeper into the back lines. That's one of the things that they would like to use offensively.
Part of the issue as well is that you can see Pobelter just tanking everything because there is a notable lack of healing reduction at this stage. Morello's not yet there for Hui. Executioner's Calling will come somewhere for Stixay, but it's not exactly easy with the paths they've chosen to get it early. And Pobelter just has free reign until that point hits, and maybe even when it hits, he can just take over because Vlad is such a strong scaling champion.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who's going to have more damage dealt to champions, because Darshan and Huni are going to have a lot. They're constantly trading each other back and forth and getting back to lane and healing. But Kassadin also, Hui's been constantly just going straight to Pobelter's face. So the same story, they're just trading back and forth.
Yeah, it's kind of that agreement. You want to pad our stats, 80 carries both have the same damage. We can do this as well. That's fine. But honestly, moving into the late game, though, I'm really interested to see what ends up happening with the damage dealers on this team and the defensiveness, because CLG and Immortals both have compositions that you don't mind going late. You just look for these fights, and it's the setup that matters.
Yeah, right now, Stixay is peaking at the maximum flat armor penetration build, and he is ready to rip anyone who's out of position. Now, the good thing also about picking Ezreal into Jhin is that Ezreal does build some armor to kind of help with that and mitigate it a little bit with that Iceborne Gauntlet. This Drake, though, maybe will be the thing that does spark the next team fight. Smithy backing right now doesn't really signal anything because Rek'Sai ult is available, could pop back out. Wards go down.
The teleports everywhere. Everyone's got theirs up, but I don't think CLG fancy a contest just yet. Aframi throws a chair in, looks for maybe a steal, but that's secured there for Immortal. CLG kind of gave up on that one.
Yeah, they've actually swapped up their allocations as far as split pushers go, too. Choosing to put Huhi against Huni instead, and Darshan taking the Vladimir duty because Kassadin not really making any ground there in the 1v1.
Yeah, but this is also a 1v1 that it just goes back and forth as well, and honestly, Vladimir killing the Shen probably not going to happen, and the Shen vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice there from CLG to switch that up because they weren't really gaining any momentum the other way around. Scuttle Crab there does go over to Smithy. I lied. I have not been keeping track of that. I said I was going to do it. I'll say it's 17 to 12.
Well, I have to check later. See just how good you are, Professor, as Immortals. Still moving their way down mid lane. Again, it's been such a delicate game these teams are playing in. Nobody wants to get themselves caught out in a silly spot. CLG are pretty firmly committed to a 1-3-1 here, and Immortals are doing their best to answer despite only one teleport versus the two and the Shen ultimate. Huni going to get himself the blue buff. Immortals are certainly getting stronger, but Baron is probably our next point to look at now. We saw the Scuttlecrab vision go down. Teams are likely going to move their way over and try and knock that down. But that's still like a million turrets up on this map.
Yeah.
So it's not with a whole lot of room to wiggle around.
Yeah, there's only 3 turrets gone. There's very little in terms of long lanes, and they're playing these long lanes appropriately, allocating their vision control to that side and usually keeping their jungler around that area, because you can see right now, Huni having to actually back off a little bit because Smithy's there, but on the opposite side, Pobelter gets to push Huhi in. So it's just honestly trading of these lanes and who gets to push in first, and just goes back and forth.
Yeah, both of these teams fighting tooth and nail in match number 3 here, having the series tied up. And this does, it does mean a lot moving into the gauntlet, even if, neither of these teams count on what happens tomorrow. If they find themselves in the gauntlet, seeding there does matter as well. One less best of 5, they talked about it. Right now, though, heading over, vision control can earn you something. CLG, though, they do have vision.
TP from Huhi and from Darshan. They're all coming in.
And Immortals play it safe to actually pull pretty firmly off that Baron. Smithy may be caught, gets ulti back by Rainover, flashes out to safety and will tunnel back towards Aframu. That's going to give him safe, but Darshan a little far in. Huni actually getting chunked out a bit by the ulti as Hui's going to chase him 1v1, but CLG still getting collapsed on here. Immortals looking for something.
Yeah, with 2 top laners there trying to kite the opponent team, and we have a merry-go-round. They find each other at the Raptors, though.
Maybe going in again. Well, Turtle actually DPS down, but Hui with a big amount of burst. Good threaten, snare, lands in, but it doesn't quite connect on Huni. Good damage, but Immortals just kind of slowly creeping their way forward. They're a little too tanky for CLG, I think.
Yeah, and they've got that sustain. Pobelter on the front lines on Vladimir, continually soaking and healing back up.
And Huni just went back, got home guard, ultied in. So now they continue their siege.
The never-ending siege perhaps there as Immortals. Pobelter again just going to soak damage down from the Jhin. CLG just can't seem to get in at all.
Well, they don't have wave clear. That weakness that we highlighted before and is so constant with the Kassadin. Yes, Counter Logic Gaming, they have kill potential and chase down potential. It has to come from an all-in confrontation, though. You can't just wave clear at a turret, and Immortals keep it up. They've got the Vladimir sustain and that ultimate from Huni that you mentioned, Cyrene, getting right back in there with the home guards.
Yeah, and if this composition ends up getting a Baron buff on Immortal's side, CLG, it's so difficult to clear these waves normally, let alone have that on top of it, and they want them 1-3-1 sometimes on Immortals, that you would lose a whole lot off of that. More than you normally would with somebody like a Sivir on your team.
Additional pressure, though, still mounting as Huni, I think, has been in a side lane. I mean, with Darshan, to be fair, pretty much for the duration of this game. Very rarely these teams grouping up, and it does feel like CLG, despite the gold lead not being particularly significant, the Immortals just have maybe a bit better of a plan or composition moving towards this late stage of the game. Yes, they can break it open, but CLG have pacified a little bit moving into this section of the game, and Immortals seem to be happy to play a little more patiently, which is a scary thing versus a team that usually plays so fast and so aggressive.
Recognizing their win conditions right now, Pobelter needs to get up to a point where he's pretty much unstoppable. And then Huni, though he does have a little bit of an advantage, but I still think that he really wants to hit that item break point, get to a Titanic Hydra, have a way to get the back line and blow them up, because he's been on Stixxay and Huhi duty pretty much all game long, keep a damage dealer occupied.
Also, it's interesting if we look at both lineups. The Immortals lineup, the damage is spread out a little bit more evenly, where they have a top laner, Hooney's built some damage as well, and a lot of defense is being built on Turtle. So Turtle's building, to survive with this Ezreal, whereas CLG, it's pretty much pure damage from 6A and pure defense from Darshan on the Shen, because there's no way that Shen is going to be able to match up with the late game damage of Echo there as you get into it, even though pass-through Qs on the Shen sword do go unnoticed by a lot of tanks.
Make no mistake, I think a successful fight for CLG is when Pobelter dies, and he's just so impossible to kill. Although 6A does now have the Executioner's Calling, so we'll cut through some of that. It's curious to think what a winning team fight for CLG might look like, but they're happy to play the split push game, and maybe that's what they have to do here.
It'll probably look like Stixxay has his IE completed and he's critting Wild Turtle out of a fight or getting a really good ultimate to pick off Pobelter, because he does get quite low.
Very well could be. Also could look like a side lane victory. Both these teams are built well equipped to do the 1-3-1 and do this split push, and whoever does get the first side lane advantage can then try and transition that into objectives afterwards. But man, this game bouncing very, very precariously.
And you were talking about how this matters a lot right before the Baron was on the table for Immortals. Immortals, difference between 1 best-of-5 or 2 best-of-5s. If they lose this match, they are guaranteed to play a team, or have to play a team if they want to get to Worlds, that has already beaten them, whether it's Cloud9 or CLG.
Well, he does get a tower down finally. Baron, a little bit of a threat, but that next Drake's going to go over to Immortals. And then Elder Dragon will be on the table, and we're pretty late into this game. These big objectives starting to matter a whole lot. Yeah,
and both teams starting to run a little bit thin on vision. Immortals run very quickly up off the Dragon to make sure that nothing's on the Baron. And there's another ring around the Rosie. Here's turn 2 as Huhi finds Pobelter.
I mean, he's actually doing decent damage now. Lich Bane helping out. I was going to say in the Huhi-Darshan matchup, I didn't expect something to happen, and then it did, and I kind of learnt my lesson. For a while there, Huhi and Pobelter were meeting. I was just like, I'm not even going to watch it anymore because they weren't killing each other. But Huhi is actually stacking up damage.
Yeah, Kassadin, almost level 18, gets really scary for any members, even frontline members. But honestly, even with a Hex Drinker on Wild Turtle and being Ezreal, still going to have to watch out for that Kassadin diving, because he's got partners and he's going to have cover fire from Stixxay.
Yeah, and if he gets those last 2 items, which what I assume would be like a Void Staff and maybe a Death Cap on top of it, would be incredibly powerful, and that means that Pobelter would have a much harder time staying alive. And if you can get him to half HP, Stixxay might be able to take care of the rest, and you could remove a Vladimir, which has been so hard to do.
35 minutes into the game, and we are only maybe 200 gold apart for these two teams. Is going to come down to that in-game play. Here we go, set up on the Drake once again. They do have a CLG ward, but I doubt they'll get anyone over there because most of the team is in the fountain.
I mean, if CLG have demonstrated anything this particular game, it's that they are more than happy to play patiently here. They trust in their team play, but I think sure Immortals do as well. And there's the Drake, Elder Dragon now on the table.
And these moments in this game where it's so even and both teams are kind of playing around each other and answering each other's moves, you're just waiting for that one break point, because this matters for momentum in the series and putting them on that point.
Pobelter!
Here's that side lane we talked about for the advantage. Huhi, though, gets collapsed on.
Huhi, the Sonya's bait's there. Reignover going to turn it around, and Huhi collapses. Immortals this time beat them to the 5-man.
You could tell he knew that it was time to pull off, and he started to back away, but a good little bait there as Pobelter just hung his leg on. Hey, you sure you don't want to finish me? And Huhi actually takes the bait. Reignover comes in for the collapse, and they get the advantage. Now, can they turn it into something on Baron?
Exactly, and that's just over-eagerness there from Huhi. He wanted something to happen, and that's the point in the game. It's so stressful. You want to be the hero, but you also don't want to be the person who puts your team behind, and it ended up being his team had Pobelter's back.
Immortals pull off the Baron, but no threat just yet. They can keep going. I think they did keep the health down.
Yeah, Vladimir can tank Baron pretty easily and heal back up.
Yeah, they want to stall for Huhi because he has TP. If they're able to keep this up.
10 seconds away, it's not enough time.
In the pit.
They have to do it. Stixxay critting everybody away, and this Baron is so low. They're just going to stand here and fight.
Smithy's so low!
Doing a lot of damage. Who's going to get it? It is Gragas. Reignover takes the Baron, and Immortals weather the storm and are able to keep moving in. Darshan here is on. Here comes Huhi. He must save the day here. And he goes in. Looks for Adrian. Doesn't find him. Pobelter still taking there on the front line as Darshan dives into the back. Huhi does pop the Zhonya's in. And he's trying so desperately. Does get Turtle, but he needs to survive. Dies there to rain over after Riv walks away. Darshan is going to lose the GA, and Stixay has barely limped away. I spoke too soon.
Can he do this?
They're going to chase him, actually. Stixay.
He's got a crit. He's got a crit.
Darshan actually still pretty big. Pobelter needs to die. But Darshan gets him, and Stixay just can't make his way back in.
Ooh, we're going to need to see that fight from the very beginning again, because it's hard to see the trades going on in the back of Baron Pit with 8 people, I think, behind Baron right there. Spike's hitting everyone, and Immortals do come out with the victory.
And it's amazing here as well because Immortals all pull off of it and damage Smithy because he comes in and look at his HP, he's full. And then they stop DPS, Baron at 2,600. Now, all on Smithy. Look at how low he gets. He is almost dead right now, and now the CLG saying, burn it. Almost in smite range there, and he goes down right before.
Meanwhile, Pobelter was zoning the outside here with Stixay. Stand United comes in, and they're able to chunk down Huni. Don't get that last auto for the Braum stun. Would have been Huni's death, disallowing him from using his ultimate. But he gets it off. Then Huni goes to the other back line, takes out Turtle, and sacrifices his life. Right here, I was questioning if Stixay was going to stick around after he kills Rainover.
Reloading.
Help Darshan, but he is reloading.
Yeah.
And gives up on Darshan. Yeah, probably the best decision to get out of there.
Yeah.
Very, very close. And CLG do have to deal with a Baroned up Immortals team now.
Yeah, he was reloading and then he wanted to just hit the minions 3 times and have that crit come back in. But by the time that happened, Darshan wasn't able to outlast.
Can't get too close to Vladimir because the Tides of Blood was already charging. Meanwhile, extra bonus here for Immortals. They get to use this Baron buff to take down some extra turrets and increase that gold lead.
Yeah, meanwhile, on top side of that, Pookie is just pushing up there, and that's going to be Immortals wrecking through the base. Talked about how when they get a Baron, they're going to take so much.
Yeah, it's just too much damage there. They're going to move in for the inhibitor to be able to take it. He's back now, but that inhib's already dead.
Yeah, he doesn't have teleport anymore because he just used that in the re-engage at the Baron, so no way he can get back to try and clear this wave. CLG lose the inhibitor.
Oh my god, Turtle safe there from the shields. Immortals make sure to defend their own. They'll back away safely as CLG. Starting to feel like they're a little too far behind now. Immortals just needed one fight. And Stixay again almost turned it around. These fights have been insane all series long.
Yeah, what a fight it was. Immortals not done yet though. Moving up the mid lane to try and get inhibitor turret number 2 with the Baron buff.
You know they have to do something now. They're going to look for a play, but Immortals just going to dive them, I think. Darshan already used the teleport. Ulti from Afram is pretty good there on the Braum, but they're just going to take the turret down. Huni getting a little too low, does ulti out to safety. Pobelter taking in the front lines and the turret. Does fall to Immortals. Stixay lining it up, but he needs to shoot someone down. Rainover running interference in the front line, but Hui does take him down. Now Stixay, you try to turn around. Xfinity, absolutely massive knockup. Turtle's going to go down, and CLG flip it again.
Immortals dare to reach too far there into the CLG base. They claim 4, and they're running it back up mid lane. How many turrets can they take?
I don't think they'll be able to end the game. There's 40 seconds as well. They have so many to
turrets?
do.
No,
I know. I'm just tempering expectations. Tempering expectations.
There's one.
Yeah.
CLG going to move in for a second. Darshan happy to face tank this. Muni's going to join in. Huni back here to threaten. The answer may just be 2 here. CLG do get 2 down the mid. Do they keep going? In fact, they're going to split up. Guhi and Smithy going to work together, and this will be 3. CLG doing big damage to Immortals. Still going. These death times are long.
Yep, and that Matthias Soul Stealer, he was sitting on a Dark Seal that had 10 stacks already. Hasn't died yet for Huni.
I love it when you raise the stakes like that. Now we've got the Medjais in the game as well. Back to this fight though. Let's take a look at this extension because Huni goes back in and it takes multiple snares from CLG under turret while Immortals are tanking that turret damage. Huni gets locked up. There it's going to be for him. And he ults right back out, but then they exchange front people here.
Yeah, and it takes so much damage onto Huni, but Pobelter only got 1 person with his Hemo Plague. It was the engage there from Rainover, and Afromu able to actually block a little bit of it, but then the re-engage, the flash knock-up from Smithy, and the only person who survives is Huni, because his stacks. Gotta keep him safe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this comp, right? They don't have very much wave clear, but if you get to the point where you're losing the fight, it's so hard to disengage from Jin, Kassadin, Braum, and then Smithy goes in with the flash to secure the re-engage there for CLG, and they do get some back. I have to say, though, regardless of that, Immortal's still in control of this game, and they're looking to press it.
Well, if you like race stakes, Kobe, Elder Dragon is now alive, and Baron's up in a minute 35, so everything's on the line, and Immortals have actually straight up started it already.
Yeah, and Huni in the base, waiting for a TP home guard play here, and Stixay off on the side. He's still trying to walk towards this fight, and Darshan as well. But here comes the TP. It's on top of where Stixay is.
Oh, Stixay, it's not a good spot to be standing, but Huni does not
He's just buying time. The Dragon's going to go down.
Immortals are actually still doing it here. Stixay opens up with the ultimate. Immortals need to move back in. Who's in the backline? He actually chunks one out. Reno getting low, reads the crit there as Smithy takes him down. CLG trying to keep fighting into who he's going ballistic as he pops the Zonyas. Pobelta, the only one left. He takes out the Kassadin.
Oh, Stixay!
He has done it. Stixay gets out of Pobelta. He's going to flip it all around. Huni now diving in onto Darshan as he's going to get chased out of Pobelta. There's the triple kill. Darshan now going to get locked up, and Immortals win a very scrappy fight.
These are so intense with both of them. Darshan's going to teleport out.
They're already cutting him off, though. He's not going to make it out of this, even if he accepts it.
And Smithy maybe not going to make it as well. In fact, Pobelta and Adrian want more. They're going to try and push the minions down to the bottom line.
Is he trying to delay back so they can get up to the second inhibitor here? There is an exposed inhibitor that Immortals could go after in the mid lane if they transition up. But they're
if you think about the wave clear, though, they might try to end the game right
Darshan's
here, but Darshan...
He's got to run interference. He pops the refuge. Pobelta, though, still doing a little too much work. Turtle now laying in the damage as Smithy disrupts two there with a knockup, but he doesn't have anything. He shreds as Immortals are able to take him down. Pobelta gets himself another. Darshan chasing in the GA's pop, and Immortals, I think that's enough.
Well, 3 seconds on Huhi, though. He's about to be back up.
They're trying to buy time for those reanimations as Hui's back up.
This game's getting silly as Hui's now back up. Pobelta, he's moving his way back in. Shields there from Adrian, keeping him safe. Pobelta feeling Immortal this game.
I'm thinking through this call to try and cut the minions because it's very, very risky. And you're pretty much putting yourself out there just to get killed. Now, if you wait and fight under the Nexus turrets and you try and use your taunt and something like that to force them off the Nexus turrets, then maybe you delay that way as well. Regardless, Immortals get some extra kills off of it. They also return back and finally do claim that Elder Dragon.
It's a 3-stack as well for themselves. Those 3 previous Drakes they had picked up, a lot of burn here, and with an Ezreal and the poke that they have, it's going to be very meaningful.
2 minutes now. CLG have to play some pretty immaculate defense, or Immortals going to run straight through the base.
And Baron is what they're going to try to look for to help them run through the base.
I think this is contestable.
Smithy's on the other side, though. Smithy has a place where he's out of vision.
He's trying to go for it! How could I? Oh my god! Smithy steals it for Immortals.
And they got Pobelta!
CLG, the medic to get it! Darshan looks up to in the backline. Huni melts there as Immortals.
What? Are you kidding me? CLG are going to take the team fight, and now they're having Baron, but they can run it through after.
And Reynover's trying to buy time. He's trying to cut the minion wave so that they can't push up. They have super minions down here. It's going to be a little bit harder to push than they want, but Darshan is so tanky. If CLG put their minds to it, maybe they can still accomplish it.
They're looking to at least claim Reignover's life here as they close in on him. Stixay doesn't hit the snare, though.
Reignover's just buying time. Huni's back in base safe as well. Reignover, I think, is going to die here still, but he's bought plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. 20 seconds on Pobelta, and CLG aren't going to be able to push a turret off of this just yet. They might be able to get that bottom, but that buys time, and we're going to get another fight, gentlemen.
What a back and forth series here. Everyone thought it was going to be a landslide with CLG being underdogs, and Immortals going to show back up in the third place match, just like in spring when they righted the ship and they easily dispatched. But CLG pushing up on the turret. They're going to use that Baron buff and get some more gold.
I apologize for ever doubting CLG's late game, even if I think that the comp may have slightly favored Immortals, because CLG going to knock down another turret. Immortals still, I think, maybe 1 or 2 with the Elder Dragon buff, but they're going to break straight through bottom lane here. Immortals, they're not back up. Reignover still down for 25.
Yeah, with that Lich Bane, they just shred through these structures, and they get that inhibitor so quickly, they're able to just back off.
Have to get out, though. Huni going to try and chase. He's very sticky.
You never just back off against the Immortals, I guess. Huni looking to keep him around, but they are going to do just that.
Let's see this. Pobelter ends up getting picked off here at the very beginning of the fight. Let's look very closely at how that happened because it's such a good entrance here for Big Smithy. Really saves this right here. Pobelter, okay, what happens? 490 gets shot there, down, knocked up, blown up. He jumps in and gets his full combo on him. And Aphromoo had knocked him up at the same time with the Braum ultimate, and it's clean up from there.
They were able to stun lock. He didn't get off any of the healing, didn't get off the Zhonyas. Actually, I didn't check the timer on the Zhonyas. Might have been down from that previous team fight, if we'll go back and look at that replay. Regardless, though, what an intense game. Now both teams down an inhibitor. Baron Buff barely about to time out here for CLG.
Yeah, you're right. He still had it up, Kobe.
Okay.
48 minutes now, almost on the clock. As this game has gone late, the gold is still very close, but sadly irrelevant at this stage of the game. It's all execution when we get this late.
And we have seen CLG, MSI, gold deficits at this point in the game against Team Liquid, even at the Elder Dragon, coming back from a deficit of 10,000 gold. They are even right now, and they're going to try to prove that they have the team fight and get themselves one step closer to Worlds.
Meanwhile, Immortals looking for redemption again for a second split in a row. They don't want to stop here. They want that third place.
This is just insane. Like, this is game 3, the closest game we've had, incredibly tense. This determines almost everything for the rest of the series.
Immortals definitely need these championship points too. This is very important to them.
Well, CLG going to try and maybe play spoiler with an incredible Baron steal from McSmithy. Immortals are peeking around trying to find a flank. They may have caught Huni, but Huni maybe have caught them. Touched on. Moving back in, a 6 second of open fire. Pobelter, he's the man they need to kill. Hui moving back in, but Pobelter pops the Zhonya's. Immortals still chasing in. Is Hui going to go down? Maybe Huni chases him down. Immortals maybe have done it. McSmithy going to get blown up here in the front lines, and CLG must retreat.
Yep, Hui is down. They have to get out of there. Smithy also going to follow him shortly after the GA, and Huni's still chasing him off.
And Pobelter didn't go down there. They tried to focus everything into him because it worked last time, but he ends up getting off his Zhonyas and an 1800 heal.
Oh, look at this. They just used the sweeper on the side of the screen here. CLG lying in wait. They're looking at any opportunity to catch Immortals by surprise because they know now they're down in numbers and their base is wide open.
Stixxay needs to have one real big play if they're going to maybe hold this here. Immortals, I think, can push in to try and end. The death time is counting down relatively quickly. Smithy and Hu will be back to reinforce in a second, and Immortals do have to chew through this inhibitor first.
It might just be a double inhibitor take for Immortals. Let's see if they decide to try for Nexus or take the second one.
They already have one Nexus turret down from previous.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of time here.
Dashan is so tanky. He's actually just buying as much time as he needs to here. He's still running interference, but Immortal's going to go for it here.
Apple's trying to block the turret from Wild Turtle.
Stixxay, no, that's not where you want to be. Rainover knocks him back in, but there's no one there to collect him. He has to stay in. Adrian getting on top of Immortal. Going to look to end a Wild Turtle. Finding his way around. And Immortals, they get it. Game 3.
That size says it all. Immortals claim victory, but whoa, it was intense. Very close there.
Bold call as well. Muscle it down. They won the previous fight, and that's what it came down to. 50-minute game.
Neither team has backed down from any calls all series long.
And man, talk about momentum killers. Immortal's going to feel on top of the world after clutching out that game. Turtle, in his home country, comes up clutch to push them up 2-1 in the series, but we are very far from done here. CLG were seconds away from taking that game.
And CLG, despite not winning this match, have still shown this is a damn series right now. This is game three, you know, even the entire time. Comes down to team fights, execution. Hui actually playing a little bit out of his mind in that game, and honestly, Huni didn't die the entire time.
I mean, I just want to list everybody's name off.
Yeah,
Pobelter, this Vladimir has been so huge for them as well. Whew.
Well, we need to catch up.
Keep it going.
Game 4. So let's pass it back to Rivington for analysis and highlights.
Thank you very much, guys. Great cast so far and great play from both teams. It's absolutely amazing to see what's already come out on the Rift here in the Air Canada Center, and it's only going to get better. Now, Immortals moves on to game point, but to look at this game, again, from picks and bans, we saw Immortals go to red side, try to get their S tier picks. and then everything started off slow again.
I mean, listen, we have a whole lot of data here on this game, and none of it has been useful. This game is so crazy. I can't believe how many calls are happening, how many things are happening back and forth. It's just so much to handle, and it's so aggressive, but there are instances where we'd like to see the teams go for a little bit more of a finesse, but regardless, it's just so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand still when I'm watching the games. I'm just like...
We were all just freaking out. There's like 10 different times that it seemed like the game was over, and it's just play after play after play. These guys are never stepping back from it, and Mortals makes the last one. They get the win, but it was a hell of a game.
Absolutely crazy. You want to jump right into the replays in this. The 840 dive in the bot lane. We see the Caston coming out. I'm sure that was questioned in Pix fans, but CLG is already trying to start things off in a game they want to scale.
And this is exactly what CLG needs to be doing. Their comp is so good at diving bot lanes with the Shen ult coming in, the Caston roams, the Rek'Sai roams. They have so much mobility to get to places on the map that they should keep doing this. And I think it was a massive mistake from CLG to put their bot lane mid and keep it there for so long. They can go top and do the same kind of play over and over, which is what you see teams generally do, but it seemed like they got caught up on the fact they have a Caston and a 1-3-1.
The best part about that play they made is that they had double TPs and they didn't use them. That means that they can make that repeat play even without the Shen ulti over and over again, because you can easily get that priority mid lane, just get casted and blue buff, make the play happen. But we never saw that happen again. It was only a one-time deal. It worked so well, why not return to it?
Yeah, we saw it actually kind of flood over into CLG feeling like they were very strong. 19 minutes in, there was a Dragon 4-for-1, and that lane split team all grouped up to fight.
And I mean, we saw what it looks like when it goes right, and now we can see what it looks like when it doesn't go so hot. And I mean, you know, Huhi pushing him out, now they just have to disengage, right? This is fine. Sure, you have to blow the flash, but they turn around. Smithy, I don't even know if he actually meant to tunnel back in here. Looked like a bit of a misclick to me, but he goes in, they re-engage, and still at this point, maybe you can still get out. But then Huhi goes back in, and look on the left side of the screen, as Stixay's not able to get involved whatsoever. Their AD carry is not in the fight. They're just getting so split up, and this was a very bad fight from CLG.
And even before the fight started, CLG has priority in the top lane. Huhi would have to burn his ultimate or TP to go topside. So if you just back off the play, you have priority. You can get either the top turret or a free dragon. Regardless, it's the same mistake we saw happen in the previous game, where they have an objective lined up, and instead of just taking it and backing off, they keep pushing for more, and they get punished over and over.
It's just too bloody. Like, you can just back off there. Shen gets the top turret. It's great. You get a gold lead. Instead, they just keep pushing for more. And it's so hard for their comp to really pin down a very mobile comp in what Immortals has. Vlad can get away. Echo can get away. Ezreal, Karma. Everything is very quick. Gragas to an extent. Like, it's so hard to just pick a fight in the middle of the jungle, even though you would think a Caston would be good at it.
And I think part of it is honestly just nerves, right? You're playing in front of a massive crowd.
Or hype.
Well, it's that too, right? And the adrenaline sometimes gets the best of you. You're like, oh, we can make it happen. We can do it. But sometimes you can't.
And you can't there.
It's even kind of hit on, we see Immortal strategy as they go into the mid game. When they felt like they were ahead, we'd see Rainover going for a few plays that the team wasn't fully behind. And that's not really kind of loss of word, kind of how they act, their course of action throughout that. They're always behind each other, good call or bad.
I think the weird thing for me this series is Rainover. He's playing pretty sloppy overall. That first blood that he gave up on the bot side, he could have just protected Karma to get away, and then they'd have some summoner advantage. And instead, he goes for a flash body slam that gets turned on him. He missed a number of flash body slams throughout this game, and his engages have not been clean at all.
Well, the one who has been clean is Huni, though. Holy, he is going off. He's taking over the backline completely, singling out Stixay time and time again, and just doing so much work for Immortals that when they're playing against the Jhin, it's so hard for CLG's composition to realize what's going on with the Jhin. And we saw it towards that later fight in Afromu, peeling for Stixay. But the second he left him, immediately, Jin's dead, fight's lost.
And we see that kind of flow over to the team. Pole Belter then flashing forward, Tides of Blood, picking up double kills, triple kills. And Immortals then feel like they have enough control of the game. And we go to a 45-minute Baron, where it seems like things get a little bit messy because Xmithie wasn't the focus this time.
Right, he's able to get this kill, or the Dragon Baron steal, and what this does is it kind of makes the front line really awkward, where Pobelter's just isolated here and gets instantly blown up by the Braum ultimate, followed by the Caston damage, and once your main kind of threat is down, it's so easy to run through the rest of this fight, and it looked like this should be potentially a game-ending fight, but Rainover does a really good job messing with the minion waves so that CLG can't really end the game at all, and then they have to kill him, and it just stalls out, so they only get a bottom inhib off that.
And I mean, so much credit, though, to Smithy for making that steal, because they had Elder at this point. You know, Immortals were looking like they were about to lock up the game. They take Elder. If they get Baron, they end the game, right? Smithy steals it. He's done it time and time again for the team. And MSI came up with so many big steals, and it seems to just be he's always
I
there
think
for it.
Smithy versus Raynor has been one of the biggest surprises of this matchup, where Smithy is kind of dominating him in a number of ways, where his early game pressure has been a lot better. He's snowballed the bot lane a couple times, and once again, he's been on top of the objectives.
And I think while Huhi has been having a pretty solid series so far, there's a lot of fights that have come down to his mechanical prowess on certain champions. Obviously, we have not known him for a Kassadin forever until last series, and this time around, there was multiple fights where just a little bit more of Kassadin practice, better Kassadin mechanics, would have been able to net them those advantages in the fights that could otherwise have gone not their way.
All right, well, game 4 is coming your way, so stay tuned. The North American LCS third place match continues live from Toronto in 3.5 minutes.
We're all tied up, so momentum going to be real important here.
Oh, that's unlucky.
Yep, nice trolling, guys. Who made the barnacle?
Immortals get a surge forward. They take out Huhi, rain over, makes them lead a flank two, and Probelta straight forward. Immortals get a clean house here.
Cut it back. Watch me. I'm blocking. I vote it. Watch me. I blocked it. Dragon's Go. Keep on.
Probelta, the only one left. He takes out the Kassadin.
Oh,
Six Day, have done it. 6 Day gets out of Probelta. Gonna flip it all around. Huhi now diving in onto Darshan, as he's gonna get chased out of Probelta. There's the triple kill.
Trying to go for it.
How could I? Oh my God! Xfinity steals it for Immortals.
And they got Probelta.
CLG, the medics again. Darshan looks up to in the back line. Huhi melts. There is Immortals. What? Are you kidding me? And Immortals, they did it! Game 3.